Welcome back, everybody. Now I'm on the casual set, joined by Gormizer over here. We just walked right over and sat down. We got our night. Normally, this is a Bologna statue when I'm sitting here. I'm kind of digging this Bomb King.
See, my favorite is we have the throwable one as well, just in case. I don't think they want me to, but it is.
But it's an option.
You know, I mean, you get the nice feel for it. Man, Mog King must have huge hands. But, you know,
hey,
just in case. In case someone comes in we don't want.
Yeah, watch out here. We're loaded to the teeth with Bomb King armaments here at the studios. Of course, it's time for the Brazil games, but normally we bring you the finals. We are going to be bringing you the semifinals here today because the finals were not up to that competitive standard. So we've got Fuzyon up against Blitz Gaming coming at you here on the top side of the semifinal. Gore, this is both these teams have qualified into those group stages, but you still want to make it into those finals to get into the better groups.
And yeah, you're looking for seeding here more than anything. That's kind of what the wins are meaning in these first few weeks. Once you make it to semis, cool, you're in, but you know, maybe like in Europe, you see District 69, and you're like, man, I really don't want to go up against those guys. Maybe I can try to work my way through this bracket where I don't end up fighting them. And that's kind of the same with Brazil. I mean, you have two powerhouse teams that we saw in week 1 for the finals, and you don't want to be against either of them if you can choose that way, but you want to try and find it through. Here you're, you know, where you want to be. I guess you're qualified, but you still need to figure out where exactly you'll end up.
And you want to get some momentum with this being the final week of these qualifiers. This momentum translates more directly, I'd say, than, say, week 1 or week 2 making it into those finals. And it's really going to be up to which of these teams can find that momentum. Blitz Gaming, a team that has a little bit of recognizable names. Yeah,
that's the best thing about this, especially for Brazil specifically. You go back to the PGS, there were always a ton of teams in Brazil that wanted to compete every single week. We would always have a full bracket for them. And then they kind of, like, well, the PGS disappeared, and so they didn't have a place to be able to come through. Now they're back doing, I mean, right now it's pretty much the exact same formula that they had back then. And so you are showing up again. Blitz Gaming were around then. They've been hanging around in Brazil, and now they kind of get to show their face again. And that's why I'm excited for it. I just like seeing these teams that are either coming back or if you're like Fuzyon, being able to kind of make a name for yourself and showcase what you have.
We'll see what they have in store for us as we're ready for game number 1. Frog Isle, I believe, is going to be our map. We saw a lot of focus up with that ROM up against Jenos, that kind of tension there on if you can get one open and not leave the counter open to the opposite
That's
team.
the biggest thing, is trying to find one without the other. Ideally, I would argue for most teams, it's get me ROM without the Jenos.
Sure.
But if you can ban off the ROM, you could theoretically get Jenos, or you ban both.
Sure.
And then Furia, honestly, in my eyes, is the one that jumps up to potentially the top pick.
Oh, well, they must have seen what John Finch and I were doing when we were practicing Paladins in the offseason, because our Furia gameplay was carrying many a game, if I say so.
And she's, I mean, it's hard to argue against her damage, plus her relatively safe disengage. It's not going to get you out guaranteed, but you can keep yourself alive. She has a stun, good heal that applies a shield. And then her ult that with morale boost comes up way too often, being able to say, hey team, let's just move faster and do more damage. That seems pretty good.
Yeah, the two things I like the most when I'm trying to kill other players in the enemy game are movement speed and damage. So I kind of like having both of those together for sure. Blitz Gaming going to answer with a Strix and Khan. It leaves open Barik and a Zhin pick here for Fuzyon. Is this a typical pick in this sort of spot?
I feel like I've seen Zhin on the rise, but more or less I've seen him on some of these maps like Stone Keep, but Jag Falls comes out to my mind, Bright Marsh. Frog Isle, in my mind, I still want to go to Evie. I'm still thinking of Maeve. But because of the way Zhin has been buffed and has kind of a third strike swing that goes long, a lot of people would remember it as what was Yomi before.
Right.
Now you can hit people much further. It will still pierce. And that helps him on maps like this where it's still pretty open. But with his survivability and that damage, he can apply a lot.
Kinessa and one more. It's going to be Makoa. Man, this is very different than the last time I casted Paladins, where teams were scratching and clawing their way to try and get Makoa under any circumstances. Now, he's the final pick here for Fuzyon.
After all of the time that I spent in Paladins, and even 3 weeks now of this, it's still kind of blowing my mind. Like, the first set, we didn't even see Makoa on the picks and bans board, period.
Yeah.
And it's just some small tweaks that have come through with him. I think he's still very good, but he does have a lot more counter potential, which is something he was always lacking before. If you had Makoa, he just did the thing that Makoa does. Now with the hook on a larger cooldown, if you miss it, you're going to feel it and you're going to miss it.
We'll see if those hooks can land. Game 1 starting off right now. Let's throw it down to the premier Ganesh player in Gold 2, DejavuArg.
That's right, soon to be Plat 5 aggro. Come on, Frogile kicking off here. Kresnik, last time we saw 2 snipers in a set. It was, of course, over in EU, but they were on the same team, and now we get to see back to maybe some normalcy with a bit of a sniper duel here on Frogile. Much to be expected, I think. That was sort of the meta for a long time. It is the first Kinessa pick here in Brazil, in the qualifiers, at least, from what we've broadcasted. I imagine you're happy both teams have kind of moved their way into that sniper conversation.
I would say so. I mean, it's 2 teams that are going to have kind of what you'd expect. They have that hit scan backline, maybe a flanker on each side, a strong kind of lockdown, I would say, off tank on both sides, with Makoa having the half shell instead of what we were used to seeing in the past with that pre-rework Leviathan. So gonna have a lot of pressure on both sides. I gotta say, I'm worried about this Zhin a little bit. Zhin is great. The matchup into the Evie is going to be good, but both of those tanks can survive Guillotine, and that's kind of the whole reason you pick them.
He is just going to be playing alongside the Makoa here to start off this round with Blitz Gaming, putting themselves onto the point first, but Inara's very chunked down right off the bat here. First blood, that goes the way of Fusion. Zhin moves his way in. DejaVu grabs the kill. And that's a great start for them to knock out that Evie already, so a little bit of flank pressure mitigated, but how do they capitalize?
And they're just going to keep this damage up on the objective if they want to do it. You can already see the Makoa pushing up on this side. This con shield is lower and lower, and this Zhin working out better than I expected, and they're going to get this Inara surrounded.
Finally, Inara goes down. Health bar was so low for so long, and they were finally able to capitalize on the kill. Into the ice block is Evie. She's going to sort her way away out of that one. DejaVu is just locked down this right-hand side. Him and Makoa have just stacked themselves over here. iLuMiNaDoR on the left-hand side of the map finally grabs the kill onto the sniper for Blitz Gaming, and look how aggressive they're starting to play. Just a little opening, and that line is pushed firmly back.
Yeah, they're able to keep them out as well as possible. They do manage to get a trade onto the Zhin, but just giving this Inara kind of on an island, and you can see how quick her health's melting away. That's
right, and she's got to be careful. That's kind of the point tank that you need to stay alive, and Flame used. Souza is going to grab the first kill in this re-engagement. On the point is Blitz, but the numbers all in Fusion's favor. 3 down, point number 1 goes to Fusion.
They're reminding us why you pick Furia. There's so much just confirmable damage, easy to confirm damage coming from the Furia, getting cleaned up on the Evie. Blitz might have gone a little bit too forward. I mean, you look at their composition, you have the almost not even arguably the better counter sniper in Strix. Evie wants to bait, I think, a little bit more, and I guess they don't want to bait their Evie because they're trying to pressure you off with Illusory Rift. Yeah,
Illusory Rift is going to keep Blitz Gaming aggressive, but with 2 minutes left, Fusion not feeling worse for wear. Chopped down is Inara, so now you're 4v5 on the defense. Khan has to use the battle shout, immediately hooked off a stage left, right back into the fight with Fusion. DejaVu into that billow, whirls forward, and that's Kinessa again able to capitalize on a kill. Blitz Gaming, they are reeling Kresnik. They're not able to step out of base.
I mean, they're the ones getting blitzed by Fusion right now. They're trying to get aggressive, but just getting completely stalled. And I wouldn't even throw this to you there. Why would they do that? Seismic Crash traded with the card so close.
You drop it down, and it's into the Dome Shield. In the meantime, DejaVu is able to grab a kill with iMaxSouza with one more himself. Blitz Gaming, they are crumbling. Inara is the last one in range. That is almost the full 5 sweep. It is actually with Strix respawning. All 5 members on streaks. And Fusion, they're off to a hot start.
I don't know about that.
They only died once.
The ultimate usage there at the very end is tough. They use Ice Storm and they use Seismic Crash, and maybe you can say that, oh, I think Dome Shield is better on mid, so let's just do this, because a lot of Barracks had that instinct to counter with it right away, keep themselves alive and not trade a kill for nothing, but still, the Ancient Rage on the other side is going to let the Makoa be so aggressive. You think back to the PWC.
Yeah.
G-Bunny on Makoa for one of the first times ever, literally almost single-handedly won the game by just using Ancient Rage, running up danger, and being unstoppable, and there's going to be a repeat of that right now from Fusion with that ultimate. Now that he has that CC immunity on base, he'll be able to play in the shield while doing that, and even more survivability than we're used to seeing.
Oh, you're bringing me back. That was such a good game. That was game 7.7 up against Envy, and it was just unbelievable. But Overpower is going to start this one off, so Ancient Rage is going to have to wait for just a moment. So Blitz Gaming making good use of the one and only ultimate they had available, but how much more can they get? You need to be able to push yourself forward, grab some control of this map, but unfortunately Titan is the next to go down. Daxor is going to grab a double kill. Good play from the Evie to move herself in, but DejaVu just lurking in the back line. 89% thanks to that fast cap. Missed shot for the final one. He's able to move himself back in, get the kill onto the sniper, and Blitz Gaming still looking good.
Dexter's turning it around pretty well, I think. The entry is coming out, but it's not where they want. Zhin might follow up, but Illusory Rift's going to counter.
He's going to pull the Evie right back in, but 97%. Fusion's got to get themselves onto the point, and they have to stay there. No room for error here. One more pot shot over that shield will grab him the con, but enough healing from the Ying is going to keep Blitz Gaming in control of this one. Barik moves himself in. No ultimates for either side, but Seismic Crash soon to be ready for Blitz Gaming if they need it. GODTITAN's going to move, GODTITAN rather, is going to move himself down. Void Grip is going to lock up Barik, and that is point number 1 to Blitz. And what a turnaround from a 1 kill, 2 points, to finally capturing their first point of the game.
Total turnaround by Daxor. The con made a lot of space, and Daxor played around it so well. I think they also played a little more to the strengths of their comp. They want to hold back and play their sustain. Because of all that extra healing and all that immunity that the con's able to have, he lives through a guillotine. That's supposed to be a guaranteed kill, but they managed to counteract that, and one of Fusion's game plans kind of just falls apart.
And I think it was well played by them as well to start off that round entirely with the overpower, pull out the Ancient Rage just a little bit later. So they were able to get themselves into a spot that they felt comfortable with, and now the payload's moving quickly. This is, of course, what you can get on Fragile. You can get swept off of the map for the first few points, but just some good team fighting will put you right back in the conversation. And just sort of the way the bonus credits work, even though, you know, it's a 3-minute first couple of points, you capture mid-fight number 2, and credits-wise, you're right back to even,
yeah,
effectively.
Yeah, that 300 boost is a huge deal. Fusion did have to use the Inflame there to stabilize, let their Kinessa have a little bit more space stacked with the Headhunter. But they're recharging their ultimates now. They have this kind of even 1-to-1 zone, but it's just support spending their ultimates over and over just to take a little bit of space.
Well, the clash continues on, from this perspective, the left side of the map. It has been Makoa and Zhin. Great hook. Pulls Daxor back down to earth and back to death. GODTITAN's able to answer back with 1. But you can tell the play that Fusion has been going for. They just send Makoa and Zhin now off to this right-hand side, and it's been working out for him.
And it's how you have to play with the Zhin, I think. You want to be able to make that room. And you have to at least win the trade with the other flank. Because, again, Guillotine is a little bit harder to confirm against these tanks. Inara throwing himself away, just doesn't want to stagger too long, wants to give him a chance for another fight, and give himself more time to charge some ultimates. DejaVu
is going to be the one to actually get credit for that kill, but I think Makoa did most of the work there. 30 seconds left. Fragile, certainly a map where a push can happen in that amount of time from this range, especially if DragonArrows is going to start off with a kill, and that's going to get rid of the Furia, so no healing, at least for 10 or so seconds, and not able to get out is iLuMiNaDoR as Barik falls one more time. 10 seconds remaining now. Blitz Gaming in a good spot. Both teams getting close to their ultimates, but what do you spend?
I don't know if you really need to spend anything from Fusion's side. They can honestly just hold, let it get closer, and try to force something out of Blitz. And I like how they're not contesting here. Even though everyone's up by a little bit of time, let the card get around that final corner and just make them take the worst fight they possibly can.
Well, Blitz Gaming, they lose Daxor right off the bat. A nice double kill there for the Kinessa. That's a perfect defense. You don't need to spend when you're getting the kills. There's only 2 members left. Make it 1. That's a great defense there from Fusion.
They did spend Headhunter just to equalize, and I'm not sure if they needed to. He was still hitting headshots regardless. It does a pretty significant damage boost, but not a ton. Oh. That was a double CC onto Daxor trying to get aggressive, and I think that shows that Fusion kind of realized what was going on. They were just saying, oh, this guy's just running all over us, and we need to spend as much as we can to stop him. Clearly 5 deaths on his side means they're doing a pretty decent job already. More deaths than most of the people on their team, and they're pretty high in the damage charts, but I think that's to be expected with a Furia, that Inflame, letting them get aggressive when their comp kind of has to be aggressive in the first place. It all stacks up.
Well, top 3 on your team are going to be your 2 damage dealers and your Barik, and I agree with you. A lot of that thanks to iMaxSouza and that Inflame, and you're going to have it here. One final point to maybe win this game. You've got everything except for the Headhunter. Blitz Gaming still charging up that overpower, so they're not going to be able to start off the same. Fusion, they're going to get things started right off the bat. DejaVu billows away from that commander's grab, and now into the spite, not able to finish off the kill. One final shot's all he needs. What do you get from that Inflame? Yeah, you buy yourself some zone, but you don't find any kills. Now Ancient Rage for the Makoa is going to move himself in. First kill onto Daxor with the rest of Blitz Gaming backpedaling to get themselves out of this fight. This Makoa is demanding so much space. Finally goes down, but Fuzyon there on the point.
He got caught in a corner there and wasn't able to make it out, but still made enough room. And they still want to be aggressive, but is this too much? Their Kinessa's half HP, and Barik doesn't really have too much support. Yeah,
making room is the name of the game here, as Fuzyon are on the point with 66% and the zone to maybe take game number 1 here in the semifinals over in Brazil. This is where Kubyz wants to be. I'm just going to pop out some shots here. Be careful with Daxor soaring high above, but with Inara going down, this gets a lot more difficult, and that is a 1-for-1 trade. Back onto the Kinessa. Be careful. Get yourself back out. They only have 3%, so you do not need to win just yet if you're Fuzyon. But hey, let's push that advantage. GODTITAN is the next to go down, but iMaxSouza falls as well. Nobody in range to touch the point, and Fuzyon take game 1.
Getting Peligros early was so key there. Having both tanks stacked on the point made it so tough for them to burn through, especially when it's just Strix. And he's looking at the support. He's saying, oh, get rid of the healing. You're getting rid of a decent amount of health pool, but you got to burn through the health that's already there if you want to be able to flip that around.
What'd you like there from Fuzyon? A lot of the conversation I had with you is about that Zhin and that Makoa creating space, but the Kinessa doing a good job as well.
Yeah, I think so. The sniper duel was doing pretty well, considering you normally give Strix the advantage there, but that pressure on the side that the Makoa was putting out, especially in the last mid, I think was what really turned it around.
Well, Blitz grab a point, but Fuzyon, they grab the win. They are up 1-0 here in this best of 3, and we're going to go to a quick break before we get back to game 2.
Welcome back, everybody. Aggro joined here by Gormizer as Fuzyon take game 1 in a game where they looked really, really good, point 1. And then Blitz Gaming came back point 2, and you're thinking, okay, maybe we've got a game on our hands. And then Fuzyon immediately shut the door.
It was going into the last round. Fuzyon had 4 ults available, and Blitz didn't. And that, honestly, is enough to usually determine at least control at the very beginning. Comeback mechanic is always fickle as to whether or not, yes, I can grab this point, or no, I can't. And then they just staggered out the tanks to the point where it was just like, okay, cool, we have control of the game. You can't do anything here.
And that's exactly what ended up happening. Fuzyon get that win. Turns out, Makoa, 9th pick, pretty good. I'd say.
He worked out, well, the same way Makoa tends to work out. Very aggressive, able to hold the side, put a lot of pressure to make sure that Strix couldn't necessarily poke out the Kinessa. And, well, that led to about a 30,000 damage difference between the two snipers. Kubyz was able to control so much more of that space, and having someone else kind of pressure him out. Every now and then you'd have Daxor getting back there and causing some trouble for him, but most of the time he's able to just pelt damage into Peligros, who we saw was like 0-8, 0-9.
Yeah.
Like, you just couldn't really live as a tank on that objective.
And I know that they're 2 healers, Gore, but 9,000 damage for Pollution, you compare that to the 26,000 the Furia put out. You think that was a big difference maker?
That's definitely going to be a huge part of it. And again, that's part of the reason Furia is so high priority right now, is just because of the fact that she can do not enough damage that you're thinking, oh yeah, let's pick her instead of a damage champion. But if you're looking at the other supports who are going to get 9 to 12k in that kind of game, she's doubling their damage. She's doing more than they're able to apply. She is the battle healer right now, and so she slots into that really well. It also helps that Khan was either A, so shut down, or maybe just B, so disconnected from the team that his damage was pretty negligible this game as well. His control didn't come through as much either, and that helped Souza, but it also helped the rest of the team keep control of this fight, because it's kind of a 4v5 for a lot of it.
It's tough battle there for Blitz Gaming, but certainly you think there's a team that has the potential to try and turn it around as we get closer to game 2. Is there are you just trying to keep the Furia out of the hands of Fuzyon at this point? Have they proven that that's a pick you don't want to give them?
I feel like across these last few weeks, Furia, in my mind, is just one of the bans that you should have. Like, if Makoa's no longer up there, but Torvold you're still kind of keeping up there, although I would say he's in a more manageable state now. Rom is going to be up there. Torvold, Furia is my 3rd. Like, some of these other DPS champions will cause trouble, and so map to map will change, but she's just so consistent. It's so hard to deal with. You can take her down, but is it worth the effort?
We'll see if that's what they choose to do, is if it's worth the effort to try and play around her, or if they'll just ban her. As we've got Jaguar Falls here for game number 2 between these two teams.
I like this map.
Fuzyon up 1-0. Do want to make an amendment. Apologies for David's first time casting Paladins in a while. It is a best of 5 here in the semifinals, not a best of 3. He's trying his best. Don't be too hard on him, chat. Rom, the first ban here by Blitz, followed by that Torvold, as you mentioned. It wouldn't be Blitz that would want to ban the Furia, right? You're looking at forcing Fuzyon to try and ban it if they want to not let Blitz get it first.
That's probably the biggest thing is, you know, we don't want you to have it. You're going to be first pick. if I'm first pick, I think in most of these games I'm going for Furia. There's a lot of merit to Barik that comes through. There's a lot of merit to a ton of picks right now. But I feel like Furia enables everyone and isn't a detriment to anything. Like, there's not necessarily like a hard counter to her.
Sure.
You could maybe put Ying on that list where it's just like something that can keep pace with her because of Illusory Rift. But I mean, she's so good that she just screams first pick to me.
Well, she's first picked, but not by the team that had first pick. Blitz Gaming actually elect for the Zhin instead, and Furia Barik, a pretty potent return here by Fusion.
Yeah.
Why Zhin before Furia here?
Zhin is good on Jag Falls. Like, that is not something to overlook. And if he goes Guillotine for this as well, he is a tank killer. He will just slaughter them down. And the 2 DPS that Blitz have now with the Vivian locked in are really good at controlling this point and finding a push conversion. I just don't know if it's worth that trade. I mean, Furia Barik, it's kind of hard to go wrong with your last 3 picks because you have such a strong first 2.
Sure. I mean, yeah, you're in a pretty healthy spot already.
It's a good guy.
It's an Atlas, another pick that was a permaban all of last year that I haven't seen a whole lot of so far in these qualifiers. What explains that lack of Atlas?
I mean, he got a little bit of a damage nerf. It was 900 for a fully charged shot. Now it's 750, so his headshot damage went down. But to be fair, it just means now he's kind of a tank instead of a 3rd damage character that happened to also have 4,000 health before. So it's going to still apply a lot of damage, a lot of control. The fact that you can rewind other players is insanely powerful, and it reverts them to their lowest health. You can keep yourself alive. I feel like he should still be higher priority. I think it's just that his skill cap is pretty high up there and makes it a little more difficult to pull off so consistently.
We'll see if Fusion can do just that as Drogoz rounds out their draft. A couple characters that we haven't seen a whole lot of in Shaolin and Drogoz and Atlas on their side. You like their draft? You think they're going to go up 2-0?
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling it. I think Furia, Barik, Drogoz alone is good enough. You add in the flavor of Shaolin and Atlas on this map, and I think they've got it going well. Blitz have some good clapbacks, but I don't know if it's enough to find them more than a few points.
I feel like Vivian is going to be her job to try and keep this Drogoz under control.
Sure.
We'll see if Blitz can do just that. Let's throw it down to Kresnik, and the man voted to most likely have the first Cincinnati Bengals Joe Burrow uniform. It's Dolson.
Oh, it's already in the mail, aggro. You best believe it, and that means the Bengals are not going to pick Joe Burrow. I've jinxed an entire city, an entire fan base. And I'm excited to be here casting my 2nd ever game of Paladins on Jaguar Falls in this first to 3 best of 5 semifinal in Brazil. Our first look in this region at Drogoz, Kresnik.
Yeah, and I think it's a pretty solid pick, especially on this map. Vivian, it's going to be her job to look at it with that hit scan, partially Khan too, but so much. He could just keep so much distance. Vivian doesn't really do that much range damage. She's definitely that mid to close range brawler. And she's not going to be able to deal with that Drogoz the way they're going to want them to, especially since he can just float around the outside. She's not going to be able to jump off the map to chase him unless we really want to have them on a Hall of Shame kind of anti-highlight reel.
Right. And they brought it up on the desk, and a little bit of Atlas as well for Fusion. Going to grab their 2nd win in this one. I imagine a lot of Blitz Gaming's ability to win, though, does rely on that Vivian finding some unchecked damage.
Especially onto the Barik. That's going to be the worst nightmare of a Barik trying to sustain on the point. But you can already see this Drogoz more or less uncontested. Just a Zhin and a Khan, and they're going to back off, regroup, and they're going to win these AoE fights because of that combustible knockback.
Yeah, iLuMiNaDoR is going to get himself onto the point, just touching a toe and backing off when the danger gets too high. Kubyz, he's not on the Kinessa this time, he's on the Drogoz, but he's still sniping some kills. GODTITAN, first death into this game. 72% for Fusion. Blitz Gaming all locked off in the back of this back room. That's a good Atlas wall as well. Is just going to save the life, save some time. Good stun onto Peligross as he tries to Shatterfall downward, but Kubyz, the 2nd kill of the game, and suddenly the gates are open, overtime ticking away, and they are not in range. Fusion, they grab point number 1.
So much control from Fusion the whole time, and honestly, Blitz kind of just gave it to him. They just picked it up. They all walked into one little room, huddled up, and then decided to figure out their game plan. By the time they had it, it was 90%. No way they could do it. The one person they sent to fight this Drogoz was the Khan, who can't shield up, can't keep himself alive. There's no way he can stop those rockets from just barraging down on his head.
Yeah, he was just kind of doinking the Khan over and over and over again, and eventually GODTITAN fell. And that's all Fusion needed to kind of kick down that door. Now you got to try your hand at the defense, but with one of your frontliners already going down, things looking dire right off the rip here, and Pollution next to fall. Suddenly Grover no longer in this game for 10 or so seconds. This Atlas is helping his team move themselves forward.
Yeah, getting so aggressive on the right side and hitting all these setbacks, and that's a pretty big deal. That the new card in the Loadout for this season, connecting setbacks, can reset the cooldown of your stasis field up to 5 seconds off. So getting that, hitting those, and getting more shields when that's basically the main reason you pick him, it's a huge deal for keeping his team sustained and pushing.
That's a nice spite. Is going to set up a kill for Daxor there. Just going to keep Fusion off on their back foot just for a second. No dome shield ready for him just yet. Not that he would have been able to use it. That's an early spite. There's still 1 minute and 10 seconds left. Fusion, they're able to get the other 4 members out alive and still have plenty of time to give it another shot.
Looks like Blitz honestly just spent the only ult they have looking at them, and Fusion's going to respond with a Dragon Punch Inflame.
And he's moving so fast, unable to find the final shot. Instead takes a good bit of damage, not able to get himself out alive. Daxor does finally fall. That's a 1-for-1 trade. Both damage dealers down, but GODTITAN falling makes a second death here for Blitz. It is Dome Shield used by iLuMiNaDoR there, with Terminus just trying to play stall on this contested payload, but he's so low. Got a little bit of a spot heal there, not enough to keep him alive. Pollution has to move himself in range of this cart. And now you're approaching that one after another territory. And I think once GODTITAN goes down, this payload goes in, and brute force from Fusion gives them their second point.
If any of those tanks were a little more uncontested, maybe that could have worked. But again, Khan is just doesn't have it against Rogue. You can see right there, even if he got his shield up, it literally would not have made a difference. It's a great just overall, I think, setup from Fusion in general. So nice. We watch it twice with how well he controlled that main area.
Yeah.
And that Terminus didn't even have a res that whole time. He's about to have the reanimate for the first time, and it's going to be probably the most important thing, but no resilience on his side against an Atlas means a rewind sets him, a setback puts him right back to basically 1 HP. That's free for the rest of the team.
Well, not only are the top 4 damage dealers in this game all for Fusion, but iMaxSouza is ahead of both Peligros and GODTITAN, who are at the bottom of the list there. So Furia out-damaging both your frontliners. It's a bit of a tough pill to swallow here. Granted, as you point out, I think this Khan has had a bit of a rough go of things with this Drogoz just kind of pouring out damage into him.
Yeah, and it's going to be something they have to find a way to work around, and they have already with a different start to the mid-fight. They started with the Zhin, and they're collapsing on them inside Dark.
Well, DragonArrows is going to get himself involved for the first time in this game as DejaVu falls, but Atlas does as well. So Blitz Gaming, they have fast cap on their side. This is how they were able to get one of their points on Frog Isle as well. So a good start here. 3 ultimates in the back pocket if need be. Daxor not able to use the spite to keep himself alive. 93% and climbing for Blitz Gaming, not in time. And there you go, another fast cap point for Blitz.
iLuMiNaDoR just doesn't dash early enough. They knew how little time was left, but didn't do it, and they had to adapt a little bit faster, at least be thinking ahead. They did the same exact plan, not expecting Blitz to change anything. Because the team huddle happened a little early because they were able to react in time and actually be in the right position.
Well, I think this is the response, save iLuMiNaDoR going down, that you want to see on the start to your defense. They're able to grab a couple kills.
And the self-rewind on the throw from the overpower keeps the Ornskein in the map alive. They're trying to just trade on this healer, but Blitz Gaming just couldn't find it. Nothing really found value there.
That's not really where you want your overpower going, right?
No. I mean, unless you're close enough to the edge, but I think he threw him straight horizontal.
Right, the immediate kill box.
You have to throw them straight down if you want to get rid of an Atlas, but he has Resilience 3. Honestly, if he's just double tapping both hands on the keyboard, he might have been able to make it back anyway. And
make it back he did, throw regardless. So now that's an overpower that's going to take some time to recharge, especially with this defense kind of hitting its midway point with Fusion completely in control. They have a dome shield, they have the exiles, but as we saw on Frog Isle on their defense when they got their 3rd point Fusion, they felt free and clear just to find a few picks, stall it out. Let's save our ultimates going into the next mid-fight.
And this looks like a similar, if not even more dominant defense, honestly, coming out for them. They're just completely locked down on the cart lane. With how little GODTITAN's been able to do also, he's probably not even going to have an overpower for the next one.
Well, there's the Vivian getting involved a little bit on this offensive push, setting up a few kills. 4 members down from Fusion with 45 seconds left for Blitz Gaming to get this one pushed on in. It's going to be tough from Fusion, though. I mean, they have a good bit of space built up, just kind of fresh off of respawn, but Blitz Gaming have moved themselves in comfortably And now with those Sentinels out, if this Vivian finds herself some space, she's going to tear through those health bars.
For sure, she'll be able to do a lot of damage. Plus, she has a hard counter to Shaolin ultimate with that sensor drone, able to see him straight through the heat haze regardless of what they want to do. They want to just play it slow, though, playing the corners, natural cover to get as close as possible before the fight actually breaks out. They want to find the poke, but everyone's just hiding, but the Exile could open it.
Well, it might be just one final fight. Atlas, instead of going back to safety, moves himself right back in range of those Sentinels. They're able to trade out one onto Daxor, but DragonArrows has found himself kind of a peekaboo situation here. He's able to poke out, do some good damage, set up some kills. iLuMiNaDoR, he goes down as well, so that's 8 seconds remaining on your Barik. You're going to need him to get back into this fight. Kubyz grabs the kill before he trades out his own life here. DragonArrows having to backpedal. That's a great stun. They're not able to capitalize. DejaVu does find the kill. Overtime is still on. You got to keep yourself on. They're going to pop the Inflame to try to give themselves the advantage in this fight. And the Dome Shield goes down, so they do end up having to spend some ultimates, but they do get the point.
They spent everything to get the chance to win, but honestly, just DejaVu being in the backline was too much for Blitz to deal with. They started chipping him and went, I guess we don't need to, pushed past, and suddenly he's just raining down arrows on the team, and a huge root paired with the flank from this Vivian was what really gave Blitz the upper hand to have a chance to convert the payload.
And that is a perfect snapshot of an unchecked Vivian. Damage chart's still somewhat the same. Atlas has fallen a good bit beneath the other three members of Blitz Gaming. But this Shaolin, I think that's a quiet top damage in this game, 4, 2, and 7, but still getting it done.
Yeah, that's the role of the damage. I know sometimes you lock a damage in a ranked game, you do a ton, but you go even and everyone's calling you terrible and report you. But honestly, the damage characters, they're not really expected to find a ton of kills. You want them to just do damage and not die, and that's what DejaVu's been doing. He's been doing his job perfectly.
He's doing plenty of damage here. He pops the Heat Haze to move himself right back behind that giant stasis field that Atlas had put up, and there's a final shot for him. One more kill in the kill feed for this Shaolin with GODTITAN going down. But Blitz Gaming, they've been on the point this entire time. Still fast cap, 4% per tick. 4% per tick for them to climb up here. 81% as Fusion's going to move themselves in. One down from Blitz Gaming. Fusion maybe finding an opening here with the kill onto that Terminus.
It was smarter by Fusion, I think, to ignore it at first because the mid was their weak point last time, and Daxor maybe a little ahead of his team.
Yeah.
Getting picked off. Fusion have to back off, but Blitz Gaming are playing a 5v4.
Yeah, it's tough to lose that Zhin, this pivotal of a point here in this mid fight, and that's 51% for Fusion, and they found plenty of space to be aggressive as DragonArrows goes down. Kubyz takes a few too many shots from that Terminus, and down he goes. So it's a 4 versus 4 with the reinforcements coming a little bit quicker for Blitz Gaming. Down comes crashing that Terminus with GODTITAN moving himself in. DejaVu falls. Exile's ready to go here should he choose to use it, and that's a good second chance to get himself back into the fight, and then Flame is going to give them a fighter's chance at getting themselves this fourth and final point. But 97%, you got to move yourself in. Exile, that's going to counter out the overtime, but it's going to time out. GODTITAN back behind his shield, stays alive, but not before iLuMiNaDoR is able to get it. Overtime melting away. And now you're just throwing bodies on the pile. That's a good rewind and Fusion. That's a gritty final point fight. They're able to grab the win.
I almost had my head in my hands there as soon as that Exile hit that con. Because that's a free contest. He's still contesting even though he's immune to damage.
Right.
It almost made things so tough, but the pressure onto the backline, onto that Vivian, was what turned it around for Fusion, even in the face of that.
Do you think that's sort of where this game goes awry for Blitz? They were able to check that Vivian enough?
I think so. I think the Vivian doing less damage than the Barik is not the place you really want.
Yeah, that's tough. Fusion, they're able to grab their second win in this best of 5, maybe third and final game right after this.
Welcome back, everybody. Fusion end up taking game 2 as well. A big final point fight that eventually they get there. Aggro joined by Gormizer here on the set. Gore, I mean, turns out Atlas still pretty okay sometimes.
Yeah, it turns out having 5 seconds of a huge wall that covers the map that just says, hey, you can't shoot me now. It's pretty solid all around.
Yeah.
And then, granted, they also had a lot of fun, I think, really coming down Drogoz without anyone that was contesting them as heavily as they should have, and Shaolin kind of free-firing through a lot of that game. It just made it a lot easier for Fusion to find the right position.
And at the end of the day, again, giving your whole team movement speed and extra damage.
Yeah, Furia, really.
Turns out to be pretty good a lot of the time. And Fusion able to capitalize on that on the back of the Furia 2 games in a row now. Now, Pollution did do a lot more damage this time. in comparison to the Ying game. 50K for him on the Grover.
Not a lot of healing.
And more healing than the Furia. Is it just those bursts of effectiveness courtesy of Inflame, or do you think that it wasn't really about the Furia this time around?
I think she helped a problem that was existing without her, and then it just, once the ult, when Flame comes up, it made it so much more troublesome for Blitz Gaming to deal with. The biggest thing for me is the fact that Kubyz here, that we're watching as Drogoz, went from playing a Kinessa to playing a Drogoz, which is not an easy swap to make for one, but I mean, look how many people are looking at him. Unless Khan and Vivian are able to get to this guy, or he puts himself in trouble by using a Dragon Punch and getting out of position, there's not really that many opportunity to lock him down. You have two projectile characters in the Zhin and in the Grover. They're not going to get to him. Terminus definitely isn't going to get to him, doesn't have the range to do it. So you needed that focus onto him, and it just never was there. And then when they finally did start looking at him, Shaolin was like, this is my time to shine. And he just moved up, used Heat Haze, and everything was fine.
Man, especially that last point fight was so close because we saw Fusion use a ton of ults to push the payload in just before that with the so that they could give themselves a chance to win, but put themselves a little bit behind the 8-ball, but they managed to play around that nicely and still found the win.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing for me in that entire game is the fact that there was someone named DragonArrows and they weren't playing Shaolin, and that just seems like an injustice on its own. But other than that, Blitz Gaming, it's just been kind of decision-making for them, right? Where it's just like, should we send people over there? The answer usually should be yes to that. If that guy's causing trouble, deal with him.
And we'll see if they can do that here on map number 3, Stone Keep, as Blitz Gaming try and avoid getting swept. We saw a very dominant sweep in our first set of the day, but I imagine, this one has been closer throughout so far. At least Blitz Gaming has been close on a couple of these points. They've gotten points. Couldn't say the same for Circus Team earlier on, but Blitz in that first pick position. You wonder, do you think they're identifying the Furia as the common factor? I think they have. They ended up banning it.
This time they definitely have at least been able to isolate it. Like, guys, what's going wrong here? There's something consistent between Draft 1 and Draft 2 that was really, really troublesome for us. And it is that Furia. I actually think, like, Koga is one of those bans that I think they could forego, but it also is a Brazilian meta. Like, this is actually really big in this region, so it makes sense to still have him up there. But now you've taken out what I would say is the root, like, the root of all evil against you so far. The problem is that the other root of all evil for them is still available. Luminary isn't as great of a difference in no boost plus damage boost in terms of Inflame, but it's more consistent. It's, hey, instead of having just this window of really good damage boost, we have forever damage boost, and that's going to cause a lot of trouble.
Zhin and Torvold picked up here by Blitz Gaming. Giving a Zhin a shield from Torvold, letting him kind of run wild on the back line, seems like a pretty good plan.
If you thought Zhin didn't die enough before.
Seriously, yeah. As soon as Billow's down, you just give him the shield, Billow's back up, reflects back up, he's good to go. And they get it, and Fusion gets a reflect of their own in a way of that reversal from Androxus. This Androxus, I imagine, is going to be tasked with trying to keep this Bomb King in check.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing. It should be, I want to say, relatively easy for them to get back there. It also doubles down because now that Androxus is off the board, they don't have that route to go forward to kind of get the natural predator to a Drogoz. But they don't necessarily have the most hit scan. They have a single Torvold for the point, a Lian who's looking to kill off Drogoz. If I'm Fusion, if you just get another really good point tank like an Inara here, then they don't have a lot of room to stand on if you're Blitz.
Yeah, that Grover certainly paid off in terms of damage and healing last time, but a different route here for Fusion. Not another point tank, but just more damage in that Vivian. Both sides have plenty of damage here.
This is going to feel, I have a feeling this game, just as a whole, is going to feel like Team Deathmatch with a little bit of objective play on the side. Fusion have been focusing on the point a lot, so I expect Khan will be there, but without his shield, or if it gets melted too fast, he's going to rack up a lot of deaths down there. It'll be interesting to see how Fusion manage this and where Blitz go with this aggressive composition.
Fusion trying to close out the sweep. Let's throw it down for game number 3. It's Kresnik and UGA King himself, Dave Olsen.
You're right, Aggro. UGA. That one broke me. I can't do that one. That one was good. UGA King Olsen. Calling the Stone Keep game number 3. There are 6 damage dealers in this game, maybe 6.5 with Khan. Are you at all concerned for Blitz Gaming that the Torvold is your lone tank?
Yeah, and I think Fusion did a great job kind of forcing them there. Drogoz, excuse me, in response to the picks that Blitz Gaming had done, what else are you going to pick? You need something to do with the Drogoz, because otherwise both of those DPSs just run away from your Torvold bubbled DPS, whoever it is, making them go Lian, which opens them up to go Vivian, which counters Torvold even harder.
Yeah, not that I'm thrilled that Khan is my point tank, but he is much better at doing that than a Torvold who's going to be following around damage dealers all game, and Fusion is going to take advantage of that right off the bat. They get the kill onto the Lian, but they also have a Khan who is free and clear to just sit on this point. Blitz Gaming, I think they're kind of banking on being able to just find a whole cascade of kills all at once, and that just hasn't happened just yet. 87%, so now the question, who dives down onto the point, is about to get answered, and
no one.
Nobody is the answer.
They don't even look at it, too. I mean, that is the last place I want to be as a Khan on this map. I don't want to be down there. I also want to mention, they don't even want the Luminary. They're running Binary Star. They want even more damage to burn through these bubbles, where this Jenos can support his team with this crazy poke. Torvold can't get away, and you can already see how good this draft of Fusion is.
Yeah, and Blitz Gaming, they need to find a way to slow the roll right now, because the roll is moving its way right into their base. 2 minutes in the game, about 2 minutes left on this push. This Androxus has been left unchecked so far. And this is where you want a Torvold composition to be thriving before a lot of those wreckers come online.
Yeah, you have to do it early game. You have to win early game. I mean, these bubbles, Wrecker not as strong because it's only 20, 40, 60 now, but you're still going to get to one-shot territory, and you have to win the game before that happens.
Unfortunately, they're going to trade out 1 for 1, or maybe fortunately, because Blitz Gaming, I think on that point fight, would have loved a 1 for 1 trade. This is a good range from Daxor maybe to be able to find a kill, but instead GODTITAN on that Lian falls one more time with Kubyz getting his kill in this engagement. Good poppy bomb, and he's gonna have the dashes to get himself right back on the map. That's 3 members down. Once the spike falls, that's gonna make it 5. GODTITAN is in back off of the respawn, but Payload inching its way in. Nobody wanted to jump on the point in the mid-fight. I can't imagine any of them want to jump down and contest the Payload. That is called a 2.5 minute 2 points.
You can see the huge weakness at triple DPS when you're trying to defend, because they just walked in bottom right, the place you would normally put your main tank. There's just no one there. There's 2 DPSs hugging the wall and praying that no one gets aggressive enough, and you can't stop a Vivian if she wants to come through. So Kubyz just walks in, finds the kills, backs up, baits them into more damage on the other side. They can't even kill the Khan with their 1 execute. They spend Guillotine on him. He just shouts through it. That's why people have been picking Khan so much lately and not banning Zhin as much, because his main utility is just completely negated.
Yeah, you change shielding, you maybe change damage a little bit, but he's still got some good utility in his kit. He's going to have his main one, that Overpower, very shortly here. It was about a 3-minute first 2 points here from Fusion, so Blitz Gaming have been able to keep themselves alive in some of these games thanks in place. Double kill. The moment I say they've kept themselves alive, iMaxSouza puts them in the grave. 2 down, and the dominoes are just going to fall here. Blitz Gaming on the back end of a through time and space wiped off the map.
And the Whirlwind connects on nothing too, so Blitz don't even have that for this retake. Only a Torvold bubbled King Bomb, I think, would be their best chance in retake, and there's no Hyper Beam going to be up potentially by the time this game is even over with how little the Torvold's been doing.
Well, it is 1 Androxus, and Kubyz on that Vivian against the world here, and that is iLuMiNaDoR back on the Khan. Ooh, good thought there. I mean, that is a small sight line. If that connects, this Payload...
Enthusiasm is important.
Right, enthusiasm is important. The Payload is going to move forward nonetheless. And at least, if nothing else, it returns back to that 30% charge. But this is it for Blitz Gaming. You're down 2-0 in the set. You're down 3-0 in this game. That is the King Bomb drops down, executes the Vivian. And this is where you need to push your advantage if you're Blitz.
Yeah, they need to keep just finding 1v1s people who are potentially bubbled. But the Dragon Punch on the other side, they want to equalize right away, and they don't even get the trade back. So Fusion in another great position.
Oh, nice shots from DejavuArg as well. And call them dominoes one more time, because they have fallen again. 5 members down from Blitz Gaming, and we saw what happened last time they were staggered out and respawning it. Things do not look good for Blitz Gaming. 11 streak, 19, 17 streak for that Androxus. Kresnik, this could be it.
Yeah, and they need to play around their Lian a little bit more. They need consistent poke to protect them. Last time, DejavuArg just walks in the back, and the Lian's not able to protect his team, and no one else can contest this Androxus at all, and even now he's just missing on him trying to glide through.
Well, you got 2 kills with your previous 3 time and space, none on this one, so you average out to 1. I think that's a pretty good scoreline there for iMaxSouza. Daxor falls, Peligross does as well. DragonArrows is going to trade back 1 kill here, but the payload's so close. Suddenly it's a Zhin and a Lian trying to defend, and that never bodes well. Fusion in quick 4-0 fashion on Stone Keep roll their way to a win.
Yeah, solo tank Torvold, unless you're G2, it's not happening. That's the last time I saw that strategy work, and that was just because they were better than you. They were able to just walk around with that.
If you're Blitz, at that point, are you just hoping that there's so much offensive power that you're able to sweep a team fight win, and then there's nobody to contest that point? I mean, are you purely relying on getting just numbers advantages and kills?
I would think that, but the fact that they made it not a single offensive move kind of makes me think they had something else in mind. Maybe expected them to push into them, and then they burn them down, but Fusion's playing with more sustain. They have to expect that on the side of the Torv, not too many kills. Daxor did a decent job getting trades, I think a couple with ultimates, but in the end, top damages, but not enough to turn things around.
Well, looks like the Androxus meta is upon us once again. DejavuArg, although not top damage in the game, actually 3rd highest, was able to go undying. Great game there from Fusion. Are going to move themselves into the group stage. So let's take a look at the Brazil bracket, and if it's any surprise, Fusion 3-0 Blitz Gaming, they move on to 3-0 their opponents in the finals as well. This is going to be a competitive team in a couple weeks in the group stages.
Yeah, the group stages are going to be really exciting, seeing these teams that haven't played against each other outside of scrims in forever with no real official place for them to play.
Well, you can take a look at the groups right there. Blitz Gaming move themselves over to Group B with Fusion over there in Group A. And I think much the same as Europe, as Gormizer pointed out. I mean, I think every team in these groups is competitive, but you talk about teams that you would expect to snag those spots. I mean, there's 3, 4, maybe even 5 in any of these groups with 3 spots up for grabs.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think some people would have the top teams kind of set in stone, but below that is going to be a bloodbath, I think, trying to make it into the PPC.
I agree. I'm excited to watch how Brazil plays out. And that is in 1 week. Those are going to be some long days. We're going to get to see a lot of Paladins, but we're moving our way towards full-blown qualification into the PPC. That is Europe done, Brazil done. We got NA in just a sec.